Watauga Arts Council with your host, Cherry Johnson, serving arts in Watauga County for more than 30 years.
Hi, I'm Cherry Johnson with Watauga County Arts Council, and welcome back. We've got some wonderful folks with us today, some folks I've just met and someone I've known for quite a while. This is Scott Ludwig. And Scott is a professor at Appalachian, but he's also a member of our gallery committee, and he's also a pretty darn good instructor when we have artist workshops every now and then. So we're going to have to get you back to do another workshop.
Absolutely.
Yep. Now you've been traveling.
I have been traveling to most recently to Cuba this past summer.
Which is a cool place to go travel
phenomenal.
to. Yeah. And you took with you a bunch of folks. Among them, you took Jessi Wilson, and you took Jacob Nall, and they have come to share some of their experiences with us. You told me that this has produced some really phenomenal work.
Absolutely. Basically, our objective with this program was to create an opportunity for Jacob and Jessi and all the students to basically channel their experience in Cuba into the creation of a meaningful body of work. So the result of which will be exhibited at the Watauga Arts Council.
Oh, we're excited. We're hanging that show today, and I'm really excited about how this is going to turn out. They brought us a couple of samples, but I want to first ask, Jessi, what is your major?
I'm a studio art major.
Okay, and so what is your specialty?
Sculpture.
So you seem to do pretty well with the camera.
Well, thanks.
Bring your piece over and share with us with some of the stuff, and tell us about this, and what was so cool about going to Cuba, by the way?
So going to Cuba was my first international experience, and it was incredible. We had an amazing group of students and two great professors that went with us, and before I went, I didn't know much about the camera I took with me or anything about printmaking, and so it was an incredible learning experience. And this is one of the photographs that I took while I was there of a man that was by the Malecon, which is a waterway right off of Havana shore. And so most of my portfolio is based on portraits. So.
That is a really nice job.
Fantastic.
You sure you're not going to change your specialty over She definitely has an eye.
She's well versed in many mediums.
She really is. Or she had an extremely good instructor. Is that it, Jessi?
I think so.
Now, you mentioned there were two professors. Who's the other one?
Garner Dewey. He's a technical photography major or teacher.
Yeah, he is the Associate Dean of the College of Fine and Applied Arts, and he's also an Associate Professor in the Department of Technology and
because your specialty is really printmaking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Although you do photography.
Photography and drawing, amongst other things.
Well, all art professors do a lot of things.
We multitask.
Yes. Just like all artists.
That's right.
Now, Jacob, you are what major?
I'm actually a graphic design major.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yes, ma'am.
And so what possessed you to go on this trip?
Well, initially it was because I needed printmaking and photography credit, which we got on the trip, but also because this was not my first trip abroad, and I just find that, especially in my career as a collegiate student, that my international experiences have been the most enriching part. So when I found out Scott was going to Cuba, I basically did whatever I could to make sure I got on the roster.
Right.
So
Now, had you had a course with Scott before?
I actually never have heard a lot about him, good and bad.
Demanding, right?
We'll have to ask more details after this is over.
Yeah. But yeah, I was really blessed to have him and Garner on the trip, and not only that, but just the group of students that went was a really wide array of people who are at different levels in their education, and I'm a senior, and then I was like one of the older people on the trip, and like my first experience abroad, I was the youngest, so it was kind of neat, like a good way to finish out my career. So
now you have a piece that you want to share with us?
Yeah,
This is a really cool piece too.
Yeah, this is just a digital print on pearl paper, and
this guy's doing printmaking.
yeah, this guy was he was in the print shop that we worked in, and we did most of our print work in Cuba and study, and he's just doing a monoprint, and I like this picture because you can see him, and he's obviously the subject, but you can also see like this was his workspace. Like no one else was here. And you can also see kind of some of the surrounding elements of the print shop, like this really old press and stuff like that. Just kind of give the viewer like an insight into the environment we were able to work in while we were there. So
Now that brings up a question. What is Cuba like these days?
well, a lot of people probably think it's really oppressed and people are like trying to get out, and that's not really the case. Like when I was pretty surprised when we got down there, and people, even though they might not like their situation, they're like very proud to be part of their country, and it's a patriotism that I wish that some Americans still had. But yeah, like they are just really in love with their people and their culture and community, and that's why art is such a huge thing there. And just like some of the shows that we were able to see, we were down there during the biennial, and just there was so much amazing work from around Cuba, and just the artistic culture was really impressive.
That's interesting. And Jessi, what are your impressions?
You hear a lot about how they're not really fans of the Americans and all, but when we were there, we never had a problem. Everyone was so welcoming and so friendly, and it was really cool because everywhere you went, somebody wanted to talk to you and wanted to know why you were there and how you were American and how you were there, and it was really welcoming, and I was pleasantly surprised because I was a little nervous about it all.
Right. Well, up until not many years ago, you couldn't even go to Cuba. So
Yeah, it's been largely closed off to Americans.
Right. Now, this is not your first trip, is it, Scott?
No, this was my fourth trip to Cuba.
So why do you keep going to Cuba?
It's a photographer's and an artist's dream. I mean, the Cuban people have an amazing culture, and they have a passion and just simply an expressive zest for life, and that's really channeled into their work. So we were able to work out an arrangement with the experimental printmaking studio in Havana, in Old Town Havana, and they were just welcomed us with open arms, and so we worked for a week with master printers and various artists, Israel. And it was just an absolutely extraordinary experience, as I'm sure Jacob and Jessi will attest to. In fact, in 2014, we've invited the directors of the TAE to travel to the United States and exhibit some work at the Turchin Center. So all of that is in the preliminary phase of planning, but
cool.
we're really looking forward to that.
That's neat.
So there'll be a number of activities surrounding that exhibition.
So now, are you going to, I know this exhibit, say the title again. I told you I was going to make you say
Reflections on Cuba.
And then there's a tag to that.
Yes, students creatively respond to an international travel experience.
And now, this exhibit is their work. Are we going to see any of your work in this exhibit?
Due to some of the space restrictions at the current gallery, I don't think we're going to have any of myself or Garner's work.
But you did do some work while you were there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't be able to pass it up.
No. It was just I was so eager to work with some of these, some of the master printers at the graphic studio. It was really amazing, and I hope to go back and do a residency there at some point.
Now, is Cuba still basically still driving very old cars they're keeping running and all of this stuff? You know, you hear all these stories about. Because they don't have as much. It's difficult to resist
making a photograph of a '57 Chevy in the streets of Havana.
It's so cool.
Did he ban you from doing that?
I told them to get that out of their system very quickly.
But you know, you just don't see that around here that much.
Everywhere you look, there's old cars, and that's so neat.
Well, it's pretty amazing that they've been able to continue using all of that equipment, and it speaks to the quality of the equipment too, that it's still running and still functional at this point. And I know that a large part of that was the period when they literally did not bring in new stuff into Cuba, you know. So are you seeing more new things appear in Cuba now that they're opening up their borders a bit?
Things are gradually but changing significantly. Along the Malecon, you can see new hotels springing up, and so the student or the Cuban people can now actually buy and sell homes, private property.
Wow.
Which is a significant new development. So, and they just lifted some of the travel restrictions for Cuban nationals to
leave the country.
To leave the country.
Okay.
Which is, so things are most certainly changing, and certainly for the good of the Cuban
That's
people.
great.
Yeah.
That's great. And the interactions that are more possible now
Yeah.
are very enriching for both sides.
Absolutely.
You know. So
There still are some challenges for Americans to travel, but again, some of those restrictions have been loosened as well.
well, in your 4 trips, have you seen progress in that direction?
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, in 2005, a number of faculty and students traveled to Havana for an exhibition, and I think I had to write various letters on 3 or 4 occasions that were rejected, and I had to reapply to
Right.
obtain the proper visa in order to travel. And even though this time we had some challenges, but we were able to organize the trip through a travel agency, and they basically escorted us around the country. But they were really flexible and quite good about our particular needs, creative needs. So it worked out really well.
I think it may have been that 2005 trip that the Arts Council hosted an exhibit. Was that Pat McLaurin's trip?
Yes, as
Yes.
a matter of fact, yes.
And so we hosted a wonderful exhibit then, and I found it very fascinating. As I mentioned to you before we started this, that I have a personal link to a friend that grew up in Cuba, and so it's interesting to me from that standpoint. But I think a large number of the folks in our country are curious about Cuba because it was such a closed area for so long,
Right.
and now it's starting to emerge, more and more, and we're just really excited about learning more about it. So
Precisely, and that's a major objective of our show, is to expose Cuban culture to the community
right.
at large. I think that's really important,
That's really
and
great.
for the students to again disseminate their impressions through the mediums of printmaking and photography.
So now you brought 2 pieces of photography. What kind of printmaking are we going to get to see?
A wide range, actually. While we were at the workshop, we focused primarily on relief processes, which are fairly simple,
Right.
like wood cut, lino cut, and a technique called collograph, which is where you create a printable collage on a surface.
Oh.
And the master printers were alchemists, really, in their way of just working with very modest, readily available materials. You really appreciate the fact that we have amazing resources here
Yes.
that we often take for granted. But in Cuba, you need to work with what is available, and literally at times digging through the trash and finding things on the street that can be incorporated into your work.
But just makes the creativity all the more
Absolutely,
exciting.
absolutely,
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's
So,
really incredible in that
I'm
regard.
anxious to see the work. I'm so excited we're going to be hanging today.
Absolutely.
We're literally going to leave here and go over to the,
That we
the
are.
workout.
That we are.
So that will be a lot of fun. I enjoy seeing it myself. I enjoy living with each exhibit as it comes through. I think this is one I'm particularly going to like. I encourage you to come join us on the 7th. We will have an opening reception where you'll have an opportunity not just to see the wonderful work, but you'll also get a chance to meet many of these students. How many students participated in this
10.
project? 10. And so will all of them be there on Friday night, you think?
We hope so.
Hopefully. And so you'll have a chance to meet them and hear more from them firsthand about what they saw, what they experienced, why they chose what they did to exhibit and create a piece of art with, whatever it was that spoke to them about that. That's going to be really interesting as well. We also will have a new exhibit in the Serendipity Gallery called Small Wonders, and it will be something that you will enjoy checking out, and it will benefit a local nonprofit. Besides, the Arts Council will share that. And then also we're going to have an author present, and we'll have a weaver who will be demonstrating and giving you a chance to try that, and live music. Now, what else could you want? I mean, that's an evening unto itself. So we're going to
Absolutely.
stretch our gallery reception hours a little bit. We used to do our receptions starting around 6 or 6:30, but because of the darkness that we have here in the wintertime, about that time of day, we're just going to simply stay open. The reception itself will begin around 5 and we'll go till about 8:30. So you are very much encouraged to come by and get a taste of all of this. I think it's going to be well worth your time to come by and check it out. The Arts Council's gallery is located at 783 West King Street, and in case that doesn't mean diddly squat to you, that basically means it's in front of Palucci's. So most people know where Palucci's is, between Mellow Mushroom and Murphy's. And so we are in the front of that building, and we also have a parking lot that you may use if you're coming in to see us. And so we encourage you to come check us out. We also have in the gallery gift shop opportunities, something the Arts Council has wanted to do for so many years, and we're finally able to do it. And we have about 70 artists that are local artists that have their work in there. And many, many of them are artists who do the kind of work that would not create a gallery exhibit. So therefore, this gives them an opportunity that they've never had before. So we're excited to have this chance to serve a variety of artists. So come check out about the work of, I would estimate off the top of my head, around 90 to 100 artists are showcased this Friday night. And that's a lot of artists. So come and check it out. I think it'll be well worth it. Jessi, thank you so much for bringing this wonderful photograph that you've taken. I'm really impressed.
Thank you.
I still think you need to consider changing your...
She even created the frame.
Oh, I haven't seen her sculpture. Well, Jessi, you'll just have to come share your sculpture with us sometime.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sounds
now,
good.
and you know, in graphic design, are you graduating in May?
Yes, ma'am.
So-
That's my goal.
So when am I going to get a chance to see your work besides this photography that you're doing now?
Well, it will be around Way Hall by Friday afternoon, or else I won't pass the class. So.
All right, and then maybe after you've passed that exam, you'll bring some of it and share it?
Yeah, sure.
We'd love to see some.
Great.
I'd love to see your work. And you're what year?
I'm a junior.
Okay, so we got another year to catch
Yes,
up with
ma'am.
you. Okay. Scott, thank you so much for coming
You're
and
very
sharing
welcome,
this
Jerry.
with us and for
Thank
being
you
the
for
big
the
part.
opportunity.
Well, we're really grateful to you too for all you do for the arts, not just at the university, which obviously you do a lot there, but you're very involved in the community as well, and we
Yeah, it's
appreciate that.
important to me.
Well, thank you for all the participation you do all the time. He helps us with a lot of things behind the scenes that most folks don't know about, but Scott's been a big part of what we do in this community. So come and be a part of it all. We've got so much to share with you. Check our website, watauga-arts.org, for this and so much more.
Watauga Arts Council with your host, Cherry Johnson, serving arts in Watauga County for more than 30 years.